we can either execute each statement one by one or everything together. So it will produce the same effect. So you can see the same output that was available in the PPT. Now I have removed principal, years, interest rate, and simple interest. Hence, when I executed principal, RStudio returns an error saying that object principal is not found because it has been removed. Let's execute the same example by receiving user input. While receiving user input, we have to execute the input receiving statements one by one first and then the rest. Else, it will throw an error. Can anyone give me a value for principal?
50, sir. 50.
Okay. For years,
2 years.
okay. Please give me an input for interest rate too.
5,000, sir.
5,000 interest rate?
No, no.
5%, sir.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay, Seema.
Okay, sir.
So we get the simple interest as 5. So while executing the input receiving statement, you would have seen that when I press the enter key once, it expected another input. But when I press the enter key twice, it understood that I have given all the necessary inputs and hence confirms it by saying read one item. Good to see more participants. So I have seen Seema, Thanos, and one more participant now. So it's interesting to see more participants. Thank you. Now let's take a look at control statements. So you will be aware of if, for, and while control statements. You would have used them in C programming language. Let's see how each one of these control statements is used in R. First, let's start with if statement. If statement evaluates a given condition and executes based on the result of the condition. So if it's a simple if statement, if the condition returns true, the content inside the if loop, sorry, the if area will get executed. else the control will get out of if. If it's an if else statement, if the condition returns true, the statements inside if will get executed, and if the condition is false, the statements inside else will get executed. So let's take an example. Marks equal to C of 10, 20, 60. Here C stands for collection of. So if you need to give more than one input, then you have to use the collection of concept. So collection of accepts same data type inputs. So we will discuss about it more in data structures class. And but for now, remember that C represents collection of, and it is used in cases where you need to give multiple values of same data type. Then we are getting user input for option variable. So if the user input is 1 for option, then average is calculated as mean of marks. That is mean of 10, 20, and 60. Else average is calculated as median of marks. That is median of 10, 20, and 60. So when I say else, it can be any value other than 1. Then we are printing the value of average variable. So if 1 is given as input, then if the statement inside if, that is mean of marks, gets executed, and hence we get the output as 30. 60 plus 20 is 80, plus 10 is 90, by 3 is 30. So if any input other than 1 is given, else statements inside else gets executed, and we get median as output. So out of 10, 20, and 60, 20 is the middle or median. Hence we will get 20 as output. Here, if you carefully observe, else keyword should be on the same line as closing braces of if statement. That's the syntax, else it will return a syntax error. Let's try executing them in RStudio. First, I will execute till input receiving statement, because if I execute after that, it will return an error. Can anybody give me an option? The value for option variable? It can be 1 or any other value. Seema, Thanos, anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ramji has given 1. Thanks, Ramji.
Ron itself, sir.
Okay. Now we will execute the rest of the statements. Since 1 is given as input, we get the mean as output. Let's try one more example. Any other value?
20, sir.
Okay, Seema.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So since the value 20 is a value other than 1, we have got median as output, which is 20. Now let's take a look at for statement. So for is also known as a looping statement. So why do we call it a looping statement? So it gets repeated and hence it's called a loop. Repeated execution of a set of statements for a certain number of times. That's what for statement does. Now we can see an example on the screen. So we are using the collection of concept as we are giving more than one value as input. So C of 135 is given as input to the variable values for A in values. So this is the syntax of for statement. So instead of A, you can give any other variable. Then we can execute the for statement. So here it prints the each number in the collection 1, 3, and 5, the number first and then its square. So this is how the output will look like. So first comes 1 and its square is 1. Next comes 3 and its square is 9. Next comes 5 and its square is 25. Since there are no more values after 1, 3, and 5, the control comes out of the for loop. Let's try executing this in RStudio. As you can see on the screen, we are getting the same output that we saw in the PPT. Let's try something else. So now I have changed the variable used as B instead of A, and I have tried printing the cubes of values. So I have changed the list of values to 11, 33, and 55. So as you can see on the screen, first 11 is printed, then its cube 1331 is printed, 33 and its cube 35,937, 55 and its cube 1,66,375. I hope you get a good idea of the for statement. Now let's look at the last control statement, which is while statement. While 2 is a looping statement, as the statements inside the while statement gets repeatedly executed. So while is repeated execution of a set of statements as long as a condition remains true. So we can see an example on the screen, n equal to 1, and as long as the value of n is less than or equal to 3, n squared gets printed. So the value of n gets incremented by 1 each time the control is inside the loop. We will get the squares of 1, 2, and 3 as output. So as you can see, First, the value of n will be 1, which is less than or equal to 3. Hence, 1 squared, which is 1, will get printed. Then the value of 1 will get incremented by 1 to 2. Then the condition is checked by while statement. 2 is less than or equal to 3. Yes. Hence, 2 into 2, 4 gets printed. Then the value of n gets incremented by 1. It becomes 3. Once again, the while loop checks the condition. 3 is less than or equal to 3. Equal to 3. Yes, it's true. Hence, 3 into 3, 9 is printed. Then the value of 1 gets incremented by 1. It becomes 4. 4 is greater than 3. Hence, the condition fails and the control goes out of the while loop. Hence, we have got 1, 4, and 9 as outputs. Now let's try executing it in RStudio. We have got the same output that we saw in the PPT. Now let's try to receive some user input. Can anybody give me a value less than 3? Because
2.
of the value. Sorry, Thanos, what is it?
2. 2, sir. 2, sir.
Okay, fine. So we get 4 and 9 as output. Seema, did you give any value? Hello.
One, sir.
Okay, fine. So for 1, we get the same output as we got first: 1 squared, 2 squared, and 3 squared.
Sir, by giving 4 or 5?
It will come out of the loop. Let's try it.
Yes, sir.
So we can see no output because the control will directly go out of while statement, and since there isn't any other statement, we are not able to see any output. Let's
Okay.
try giving a statement after while. So Now I have given an input 5 which is greater than 3. Hence the control directly came out of while, and since there are statements outside while, those statements got executed. So I have assigned the value 67 to C and I have executed C. Hence you can see 67 as output.
Yes, sir. It's like an else part.
Yes, if it's an if statement, we would have had else. Yeah, you can compare it in concept like that. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
good one.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Now we will take a look at user-defined functions. Uh, so user-defined functions means functions that we create for our own purpose. So when will we need a function? If a same set of code needs to be repeatedly executed, then it's wise to convert it into a function, because writing that same set of code again and again will be a very inefficient process. It's both time consuming and occupies a lot of memory.